folks, Fat Guy Flies RC here. We're back here with the e-flite Corsair 1.2 meter, and as you watched my unboxing video, I showed you all the parts, laid everything out, and right off the bat I discovered one flaw, and that was that if you look right at the rudder, seemingly straight, but the tail wheel is off to one side. Now, they are controlled by the same servo, okay? So, you're gonna need a little, if you have this situation to where your rudder is straight, but your tail wheel is off, more than likely you're gonna have a situation like this where you have a quick connect and two control rods that independently control each of the items with a one servo. So I guess they're not independent, but all you're going to want to do is take a little Allen wrench and go on there to that little grub screw or set screw, and you're going to want to loosen that up. Let me you want to loosen it. You might want to grab a hold of it where you don't bend anything too much. You're going to loosen that up, and then you got to identify which of these two control rods is the tail wheel, which is real simple. Grab the tail wheel and you'll see, I'm grabbing the tail wheel. If you see in there, you can see one, watch right here. You can see one kind of moving, okay? So you can gather what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to face this at y'all, okay? That way you can see it. Let me get the room there. Got my Allen wrench, okay? You saw how I loosened that up. Let me eyeball the two. The rudder's pretty straight. Tail wheel looks like it's pretty straight, okay? Now, I'm going to tighten that back down. Hopefully not disturbing that tail wheel or the rudder any. Good, I got them. And you want to cinch that down nice and tight. Okay, now, yeah, that way, now when I turn them, they're in unison together. Okay, now that was just something I wanted to correct before I actually technically started the build. Now, first thing in the instruction that calls out for to install your horizontal stabilizer. Now, well, that's fine and dandy. We can do that. Okay. We're going to turn the model upside down. We're going to put, actually no. All right, this goes, it's a top loader. And this particular plane, like I said, work your hinges. Your feeder hole for your screw is on top. Here's your control rod that's going to control your elevator. This is going to just slide right on in there. Ever so, just like that. It takes these one screws. I don't know the length. I want to say they're about 1.5 inches. But your kit comes with 5. And you have 4 for the wing, 1 for the tail. And it's just going to drop down in this hole here. All right. Now you want to, before you do this, you want to kind of test fit. I've already test fit everything as far as this goes to make sure it fits. Get it in there nice. And that should, yeah, this is why you test fit things first. I already test fit this. In other words, I put it in there and I screwed it in. And just like I'm doing right now. Okay, now when you're screwing foam pieces together that have plastic reinforcement, okay, you're going to go all the way in and you'll start feeling that resistance, and then if you're lucky, it'll bottom out. If it's got like a brass fitting that fits into it, it might bottom out, stop. If not, let me show you something. You may or may not be able to see it. But I started tightening that up, and I got a lot of resistance, and all of a sudden I could tell that this foam right around here was starting to depress. That means I've hit bottom and I need to stop. So I'm going to go down to that again, tighten it to where I see a little bit depressed, and I'm going to go off half a turn off. Okay? The reason I say half a turn is because heat and time, that foam will expand a little bit. It'll seal that gap. Okay? That's on there. Okay? We are not, even though the instructions say to go ahead and hook the clevis up, we're not going to. Not until we bind. We will make sure everything is neutral. Okay? All right, so the next step, we're going to skip connecting the elevator. So we're going to go on to the wing. Now, for this, we are going to want to go ahead and turn your fuse upside down. See that hole there? All your wires that control your wing are going to have to fish down through there. Now, it says just go ahead and put the wing in, okay? And then either, it doesn't really, it's kind of ambiguous. I know it shows put the wing on first and then hook up all your Y leads. Why do that now? Why would you do that with the shorter end? Go ahead and hook up your Y leads before you drop the wing, okay? So for that, that's another build tip that's free that I'm not going to charge for. So take your fuselage over here, get it out of the way, and this is with any wing, they're all going to have these wires. You're going to lose tape when you take this masking tape off. If it's inside the plane, you'll never see it. You'll know it's there. If it bothers you that much, get your can of paint. Okay? And they're clearly labeled. Okay? They are all labeled. Flap, aileron, aileron. Okay? Gear, gear. So you're going to have 2 gear, 2 flaps, and 2 ailerons. So 6 connections, right? Right. Because you got 2 flaps, servos, you got 2 aileron servos, and then you got a servo for each of your gears. So a total of 6. So that tells me 3 Ys. Okay? And the Ys they provide, why man, why? The Ys they provide are also labeled. So here's a building tip. Anytime you're going to be connecting 2 servo wires together or Y leads together or anything like that, you always hook up light to light, dark to dark. I don't care if it's brown, yellow, white, black. Light to light, dark to dark. See what I'm saying? Right there is light. This is the aileron. This is my aileron Y. Y. So I'm going to click white to white or light to light and dark to dark. Okay? You can see that the light is on the left side and the brown, dark brown is on the right. Now, you want to feel them kind of click in together. Okay? Now, here's something that I like to do. And it's you can undo it at any given time. Some people like to use glue, some people like to use tape, some people like to use whatever. I like using just a little bit piece of Scotch tape. It's you know, you can pick them up at the Dollar Tree store for, you know, 2-pack for $1. Duh, Dollar Tree store. And simple, cheap, clear tape. Okay, this is just a little insurance policy to make sure that these 2 bad boys are not going to come undone. Okay, now I'm looking for the other aileron lead. Oh, and it's right there. Okay, light to light, dark to dark. Sometimes you'll feel them click in, sometimes they won't. Okay, sometimes you feel like a mound, sometimes you don't. Okay, all right, that way I know they're not going to come together. So now is another build tip, something that I like to do. Before I go any further, I want to make sure my servos are centered and working, and I know my wires are working before I put them all together. Even now, I've got an old rinky-dink servo tester. You can buy the real fancy e-flite one or whatever you want to do, but I like this old one. I've had it for years. It's reliable. And what I'm going to do, this is going to act like it's the receiver. Looky there. Right off the bat, my servos are working. And when I put them back in the center position on the servo tester, these servos, because this is a quality model, are centered perfectly. And I know now, I have confidence knowing that this connection is solid. So I'm going to get it up and out of the way. We're going to go with the gear servo next. So find my gear. Y. Labels Y gear, light to light. The other gear on this side, light to light, dark to dark. Okay. That's going to click in nice. Get my little piece of tape there. Take that bad boy down. That way I know I got my little insurance policy. It cost me $1. Let's see if I find an insurance policy that costs $1 somewhere. Okay. All right. Now, gear's going to drop down if it's working right and if my connection's right. So let's get it turn it over. Hook it up. Hey, look at that. See what I meant by rotating gear, how they rotate? All right. So now I have confidence in knowing that my electronics, or my aileron, and my gear are working great. Leaves the flap. Okay? Light to light, dark to dark. The light side and the dark side. It binds the galaxy together. Okay. No, that was not a Star Wars reference. Not at all. I would never do that. All right. Put my insurance policy on there. Okay. Just me. Some people put a little bead of glue. Some people use hot glue. You know, whatever you want to use. I like using tape. So, since the flaps work this way, find my flap there. And let's observe the flaps in action. Same thing. Remember I was saying about light to light and dark to dark, and some more are white and black? This one is white and black. So I'm going to connect the white to the yellow. And look at that. All right. So now I know, and I have peace of mind knowing that all the electronics in this wing work. Okay? So now I don't have to worry about that. I know the wing is in good working condition. So now I feel confident in going ahead and connecting it to the main body of the plane. Okay? So, remember I showed you got that hole there? See how short them wires would have been otherwise? But now I've already connected the Ys. So now I have plenty of room. Huh. This one flap Y is shorter than the others. No, that's fine. But now I've got plenty of room to run all that down through there. Okay. And you can kind of reach up in there with your fingers to make sure that you're feeding everything through. That you've got positive travel there for those and that just sets in there pretty as you please. Put your hand on the bottom, turn the model over before we permanently attach it, and let's make sure that everything looks like it. Kind of grab a hold of all of them Give them a gentle tug just to make sure everything's through. Okay, and now we can attach the wing for good, or until I decide to take the wing back off. All right, she's in there now. Now you've got those remaining 4 2mm hex drive screws. I'm gonna go ahead and put them bad boys down in there, just like that. Gonna put a little bit of screw into the fuselage, into the wing, into the belly of the beast. Okay, all right. Now, this is the first time I've ever put this plane together. All right, that's going down there. And now look at here, this is gonna be easy and easier to identify. It's got this big plastic backing here. When I see that start to indent just a little bit into the foam, I'm done. Not gonna go any tighter than that. Well, I'll go just a tad tighter, then I'll back off half a turn. But my cue is when I see that foam start to dent, then I know I've hit bottom. Okay? One thing I want to do real quick. Folks, my plane stand, I really need to invest in a little bit better of one. I know y'all said, hey, why don't you get a real plane stand? But this foam on this plane stand isn't all that great, and it's kind of, I don't want it to bite into my foam. So let's where's that antenna? Make sure I'm not messing up my antenna. All right, go back in here, back to what we were doing. Okay. And you can start feeling that resistance. Okay, there. I see a little bit of a dent there, half, and then off half a turn. And then just like when you put lug nuts on a tire, if you've ever done that, alternate. Don't go all the way around together. Go back and forth, crisscross. Okay. All right. All the way down. Okay. All right, start to see some indentation, back off half a turn. Come up here. Okay. Indentation, back off half a turn. Okay. Resistance, indentation, half a turn. Now, something I like to do, that wing's on there, okay? Make sure your hand's nice and flat. You don't want to damage your foam. So basically, the airplane is put together outside of putting the prop on. Now, what we're going to turn our attention to, okay, is we're going to hook up all them Ys to the receiver. Now, on a Spectrum receiver, I haven't seen one yet that is not numbered this way, but you have your bind port, and then you have your number 1, and it has a little number 1 on there, which is always going to be throttle. Your second one, or your number 2 port, is always going to be aileron. Your number 3 port is always going to be your elevator, which is already plugged in this case. Your number 4 is always going to be your rudder, which in this case is already plugged in. Your number 5 is always your gear, technically aux 1. And then your number 6 is going to be your flaps, okay, or aux 2, auxiliary, okay. So, and just like when you're plugging your servos together, light to light, dark to dark, if you notice on this receiver, they've already got the throttle, aileron, and our throttle, elevator, and rudder, because they were already installed, plugged in. The next is going to be my ailerons. I'm going to take the light side, and it's going to go in the number 2 spot, and the light side is always going to be up. when you're looking at the receiver, looking down the receiver, the light is going to be towards you. Okay, the light side. Gear will go light side up. We'll go into your number, your 5th port there. Okay. Okay, and then your 6th port is going to be your flaps, light side up. Okay. All right, and those are in there pretty darn good. Now, if it wasn't for the fact they're all buttoned up against each other, they kind of hold each other in place. So I don't necessarily put anything on this. You could put a, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead. I'm going to take a little piece of tape, and it is a good practice. I don't necessarily do it, but it certainly is not going to hurt. And to put a little piece of tape on all of them, kind of holding them all together, and that way they'd all have to disconnect. However, remember, leave room. Don't put it on I guess you could say your number 0 one, because that's where you're going to put your bind plug. Okay? So, we're now going to get to the part of the build. We're going to be ready to bind this bad boy up. Now, one thing I will do, and I won't do it, is I will go in here and I will tidy up all these wonderful cables. I'll get them all shoved down into that hole down there. Put a zip tie on them, make them all nice and clean. Okay? The less chance of interruption of signal by wires, the better. The cleaner it is, the better it is. Okay? I'm just obsessive compulsive about that. I'm not like Brian Phillips. I want the inside of my plane to be nice and clean and tidy, if at all possible. Sometimes some of the jets and stuff, you don't have no room. You just don't. So, now they have routed that antenna. I'll tell you what, when you're dealing with e-flite and these FMS planes, quality. You're just dealing with some quality, okay? Yes, they do cost more. They do cost more. And not trying to diss e-flite or FMS, but y'all need to be careful. Watch your competition. Those Arrows planes, man, they are on par with flyability and on par with the quality, and they're about 30 to 40% cheaper, e-flite and Horizon. So what I'm doing right now is that antenna is riding up on the control rods on the servos. So I'm just taking a little piece of tape and taping that down to where I don't run the risk of that antenna getting anywhere near the working parts of that servo, of the control arm of the control arm of the servo there. I want it to stay nice and free of that. So, anyways, okay. I got it out of the way though. That's all that really matters. Got it out of the way. Okay, that's that. Now let's turn our attention to our transmitter and setting up a model. What did I just drop? Nothing. Okay. All right. Now we're going to come in here and take my strap off. I'm going to take the strap off the radio here. Going to get over here in front of the camera. Okay. Got to get the camera where I can see what we're doing. Okay. We are going to add a new model. Okay. Model select. Add a new model. Create. Yes. Okay, what thinks about it? Model type. Well, it's an airplane. Hello. Okay. We're not going to give it the name just yet. You know what we'll do? We'll just go F4U Corsair. How about let's go FRU. Okay. Go the number 4. And then go back to the uppercase U. And then we'll just go to space and make nothing there, because it's the only F4U I have. So we're going to leave it there at that as soon as I find the empty spot. Okay, we'll go back. The aircraft type. Now this is important. This is what the manual calls out for. You want to go with aircraft type. Is going to be, your wing is going to be one aileron and one flap. Why is that? We had one aileron Y lead, one flap Y lead. So in essence, the computer thinks it only has one servo. One, and the tail is normal. So next. And now this model is ready to set up. Okay. Now that we're in this screen though, something I want to do, and this is me, free, pay attention folks, this is another free building tip. I'm going to go ahead and set my throttle cut. I like using F. Okay, it's on F, so that way my prop, I can turn my prop off and not cut myself. Okay, so that is the setup. You're going to turn your transmitter off. You are not going to attach your prop yet. You don't do that. If that motor's going, if this motor's turned this way, or is going counterclockwise, you're in good shape. Go and install the bind plug. Okay, it keys in usually the word bind, or the metal. You'll see little metal prongs. They go towards your towards the inside of the receiver. Fits right in there. It is now in there. I can take my battery that I have ready. Okay, undo these little straps. I'm not worried about the Velcro and all that for right now. I just want to hold the battery in there for right now. Okay. And if you notice, the battery I put in, if you have a sharp eye, has an XT60 connector. And the ESC, or the power connector inside the plane, is an EC3. Okay, so I need an adapter. So where's my adapters? Here, I need an adapter. And all this does is from the battery to the ESC, takes my battery and turns the connector into an EC3. Okay, remember my bind plug is in. Plane has some power. You see my lights flashing for my receiver. That receiver is saying, hey, we have no brain. We are not talking to anybody. Hold down my bind plug or my bind button. Turn the transmitter on.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Telemetry. Bind complete.
That tells you that the plane and the transmitter are talking to each other. Now, unplug it. Pull your bind plug out. Okay? Grab hold of the black plastic. Don't pull up. Grab a hold of the little plastic hoop. If you pull that tag, it's going to just rip right off. Okay? I always turn my transmitter off. Okay? Now this is the time. Now you turn your. Now when you're normally and you're already bound, you always turn your transmitter on first, because it says, okay, we're ready to talk to a plane. Now you're going to wake the plane up by giving it some power. Okay. I've got movement of my ailerons, and I have no elevator because remember, didn't hook it up yet. Rudder hooked up. Okay. Okay. Prop. See him? All right. I've turned my motor on. Yeah, it's pushing my finger that way, so I know the prop's right. Turn that off. Aileron works. Now, see if make sure the gear is working. Make sure my hands are out of the way. And there's the gear. Working. All right. Now, make sure I get it up over Okay. All right, now, hear that? That's that A3X working. And if I can move the surface up suddenly and I feel that control surface go against my touch, then I know that the A3X is working correctly. Now, the rudder, if I'm going to turn the plane suddenly this way, the rudder should go that way. And it does. Okay, so I know that the rudder and the aileron are set up right. Let's address our elevator. Okay, remember I got that battery strapped in there, so I don't have to worry about it. We haven't done anything with the flaps yet, because I'll have to show you on camera what to do there. But I mainly wanted to make sure that I've got that elevator in the neutral position. I'm using the receiver the same way I'd use a servo tester. I'm making sure that it's in the neutral position. Now, I already made sure of that with the wings and the flaps and everything. Okay, now, when you're attaching a clevis to a control horn, which clevis, control horn, try to, if you've got to make an adjustment by turning it in or out, grab a hold of the metal of the free bill tip, grab a hold of the metal of it at an angle with a pair of needle nose. That way you get a better, and all I'm doing is I notice that this clevis is not quite lined up. I'm just going to turn it just a little bit just to make it flat. Going to hook it up with the very first hole that is available on the control arm or the control horn. Pipe that through, lock it down, slide that little piece of fuel tubing up, and hey! Our elevator works, and when I let go, it goes back to level. So it was already leveled and centered. Okay, outside of putting the prop on, the other thing we need to address, if I can not damage the plane and everything else, you address this flap situation. We can't leave the flaps like that, right? Now, the instructions do not call for any flap mix, flap to elevator mix. So, let me come over here where you can see this. Let me refer to my manual real quick, okay? And because it gave some flap settings. Okay. Sorry, I had this. All right. For a DX9, which is what I got, my position 0, in other words, my flap up, is going to be negative 100%. My first position, or in other words, takeoff flaps, is going to be negative 30%. And then my second position is going to be positive 60%, or landing flaps. So let's go ahead and let's show you this real quick. And then we'll have to end the video because my camera's about to die. Go to your flap system. You're going to assign it to a 3-position switch. Typically, most of these kind of receiver or transmitters, it's going to be D. And remember, our first position or flaps up is going to be negative 100. And if you look, see how that flap is starting to go up? Negative 100. Takeoff flaps is going to be negative 30. Okay. And then landing is going to be positive 60. All right. Now, one thing you're going to want to do is the speed of this. You're going to go down here to speed. And manual calls for it to make it 2 seconds. So right there. All right. Let me make sure that my flaps are out of the way. That on the plane stand here. Actually, you know what we can do? We can turn the model upside down. Now remember, this is upside down. Okay? Upside down. So, with your flaps all the way up, in other words, level, that's how they look. Position 2, they're going down, is takeoff flaps, or position 1 actually. You got position 0, position 1, position 2. And position 2 is your landing flaps. And to give you a look at the plane as it's approaching you, you can see how they're down. Okay, let's turn them all around. And you see how far down they are. Those act as like air brakes. So we're going to pull them back up. Okay. All right, well, there you go, folks. Everything is level. Drop tanks would hang underneath between the wheels. They just slide in. And you can imagine the prop on there. Okay. Props, there's always, tells you the size of the prop. That is the side that always goes out. Okay. That goes on there. These little plastic pieces just fit outside of your prop. Okay. That just slides on there. And that goes on there. And you're going to want to tighten that up, and isn't that pretty? And that's how it's going to look. Okay? Well, there you go, folks. I'll address the trim on the rudder. That's just got to go in there and adjust it. But there you go. That is the Corsair, ready to basically ready to fly. I need to go through there, and I'm going to put in 100% throws and 30% expo. Well, I'm only going to have that as my only rate. I have I have 2 videos on rates and expo, so refer to those. I'll put a link in the build video and down at the bottom. That's it. She's basically ready to go. Other than I need to tighten up the prop and trim out the rudder, which is just an adjustment, just like I showed you. And I already know my A3X is working correctly, you know, because like on the elevator, when I go up, when I take the model up, I feel that control surface go against my hand, go against the direction you're pushing it, so I know it's working. All right, folks, well, there you go. That's the build. The next time I show this plane will be at the field, taking her up for a maiden. Thank you for watching. I'm sure there's stuff I left out. Nothing's coming to mind right off the bat, but of course, because I've done this numerous times. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them as quick as I can. Work and weather permitting, and well, weather for go flying, and work and time off permit to sit on the computer and do all this. So thank you so much. God bless y'all, and God bless. Don't forget to like and subscribe too.